Shinran could not help but abandon the practices of the path of sages and turn to the Pure Land path. The teaching of the Pure Land path is to attain enlightenment upon attaining birth in the Pure Land by the other power. Why is it necessary to desire birth in the Pure Land? Because as long as a person has a body in this world, the annihilation of evil passions is impossible. The perfection of Buddhahood can only be expected in the Pure Land. Again, why must we rely upon the other power instead of self-generated effort? Because Shinran realized during his various practices of the path of sages that it is impossible to perfect Buddhahood by relying upon self-generated effort. Secondly, he became aware that in order to be born in the Pure Land of Tathagata, the only way is to rely upon Tathagata's power. Essential Gate. After turning to the Pure Land path, Shinran first experienced the Essential Gate, which is the practice of the 19th vow. It is to seek the effect of birth under the twin sala trees by the causes of innumerable practices and various good deeds. The innumerable practices and various good deeds are not different from that of the path of sages from the viewpoint of the contents of their practices. However, as compared to the path of sages, which attempts to attain Buddhahood in this world by relying fully on self-generated effort, the Essential Gate tries to attain Buddhahood by gaining birth in the Pure Land through Tathagata's salvation. But it still considers the innumerable practices and various good deeds as the condition for Buddhahood. Therefore, the Essential Gate is also difficult to perfect because the practices of meditative good deeds and non-meditative good deeds cannot be perfected in this world. Hence, by the Essential Gate, there would be no assurance of attainment whatsoever. After explaining the practice of the Essential Gate in the chapter on Transformed Body and Land of the Jodo Shinshu, Shinran lamented the difficulty of its perfection by saying, quote, "For common, ignorant men and women, ever sinking in the sea of birth and death, meditation is hard to practice because it is the practice of stopping thoughts and concentrating the mind. Non-meditative good deeds is also hard to follow because it requires abandoning evils and doing good. Hence, Zendo says, even in the life of 1,000 years, the eye of Dharma will not be opened." Close quote. Difficulty perfecting the True Gate. Hereby, Shinran turns to the True Gate, which is the practice of the 20th vow. This practice is an attempt to attain the effect of inconceivable birth by establishing the causes of good and virtuous deeds. Good and virtuous deeds means the nembutsu of self-generated effort. Those who practice True Gate realize that because it is impossible to attain perfection of Buddhahood by doing innumerable practices and various good deeds of self-generated effort, they must seek the attainment through nembutsu of self-generated effort. Although the practice of True Gate emphasizes the nembutsu, the mind of the practitioner is still based upon the accumulation of merits through nembutsu of self-generated effort. This is the same as the practices of the Path of Sages and Essential Gate. Since the practice of the Path of Sages and Essential Gate are the same, the more we advance in the practice of True Gate, the more we suffer on the contradiction of antinomy. Therefore, there will never be an assurance of attainment in our lifetime. Shinran explains the difficulty of perfecting nembutsu of self-generated effort by way of True Gate in the chapter on Transformed Body and Land in the Jodo Shinshu by writing, quote, "Truly, I realize that those who practice exclusively the nembutsu with mixed mind cannot attain the great joy." Close quote. This means that as far as the path of self-generated effort is concerned, whether it be the path of sages, meditative good deeds and non-meditative good deeds, or practice of nembutsu, it is inevitable that there will be a failure in reaching the attainment. from self-generated effort to the other power. Here, Shinran realizes the imperfection of the path of gaining merits by self-generated efforts, and steps promptly into the great vow of the other power's merit transference. The great vow is the 18th vow. The original vow is not to seek the attainment of Buddhahood by turning one's merits of innumerable practices and various good deeds or nembutsu of self-generated effort toward Buddha. Rejecting such practices of self-generated effort completely, it is vowed in the 18th vow that the merit of attainment is solely endowed upon us by Tathagata. As explained in the chapter on teaching of the Jodo Shinshu, quote, "As I reverently contemplate on Jodo Shinshu, there are in it two kinds of merit transference. One is the phase of going, and the other is the phase of returning. With regard to merit transference in the phase of going, there are the true teaching, practice, faith, and attainment." Close quote. Shinran says that all the merits are endowed upon us from Tathagata, and we are emancipated by just receiving them. Shinran shows the affirmation of the teachings through his experiences of having converted to the path of the other power from self-generated effort. Hereby, we cannot help but to realize that the final path for our attainment is none other than the path of Jodo Shinshu, the teaching of the other power.